This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. There are so many fantastic and talented content creators out there who cover the Eagles. So many different mediums for where you can get your Eagles content on the web, newspaper, websites, YouTube, radio, podcasts. Anytime you decide to hang out here with me, I really do appreciate that. I do think that what we do here is certainly special. Coming up here on the program, major Eagles trade rumors from ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler. The Eagles are linked to a lot of the top trade candidates across the National Football League. And speaking of that, the NFL trade deadline is coming up after Week 9, going into Week 10. If a team wants to make a trade, they have to make that move by November 4th. The Eagles do have a bye week in Week 9. Then they're on the road to play the Packers at Lambeau Field in Week 10. That's a big matchup because right now the Packers are the number 1 seed in the NFC, despite having less wins than the Eagles because they have that tie. They have fewer losses. And so that game could go a long way in determining seeding by season's end inside the NFC. And I also like where the Eagles are positioned with their schedule going into the deadline, right? They play the Giants on Sunday. They have that bye week. And so they're going to have a great opportunity to watch the tape against New York, gather intel, data, and tape from what has transpired so far this year to make a determination of what moves they want to make, if any, and which players to target in the deadline during their bye week. For Howie Roseman, he's not going to Cabo during the bye week. No days off for him. He wants Lombardi Trophy number 3. As for those top 25 trade candidates and trade targets from ESPN, these are the 25 players who are gathering the most buzz for players who could get dealt going into the deadline. And they're ranked from 1 to 25. Trey Hendrickson, Jaylen Waddle, Breece Hall, Riq Woolen, Jakobi Meyers, the top 5. 6 through 10, Mark Andrews, Chris Olave, Jaylen Phillips, Alontae Taylor, Jermaine Johnson. Logan Wilson, Michael Carter, Arden Key, Roger McCreary, Chig Okonkwo, 11 through 15. Arnold, Ebiketie, Braxton Jones, Kingsley Enagbare, Russell Wilson, Cam Taylor-Britt, 16 through 20. And then the last of the trade candidates here, Kirk Cousins, Kyle Duggar, Jerome Ford, Christian Harris, and Evan Neal. And soon here in a couple of moments, we'll get to the players who the Eagles are tied to. As far as their deadline needs, I think pass rush in general is the biggest need for the Eagles. That could be at edge rusher. It could be at defensive tackle, although I like the situation there with Jalen Carter, Moro Ajomo, and Jordan Davis. But this pass rush needs to improve for the Eagles. I think that cornerback 2 is the second biggest need for the Eagles. Interior offensive line is up there. Tyler Steen has been just okay. Cam Jurgens is injured right now. Uncertain what his future is due to that knee. He's also been struggling due to the back. And Landon Dickerson hasn't played all that well. Now, the Eagles did sign former Eagle Sua Opeta to their practice squad on Wednesday. And so that serves as some offensive line depth. But if a good player is expendable and available, Howie Roseman will look at that player as a potential option. And then I'm going to throw in safety. I'm a fan of Andrew Makuba, and I think over time he can play very well and become a good player. This year, though, he has really been bad in coverage. The tape does not lie. The numbers are not pretty. And so I know that the Eagles signed Brandon Graham. Comes out of retirement. It's going to be year 16 for him at 37 years old. I know that he tore his triceps twice last year, but prior to that injury, he was playing at a very high level. Brandon Graham is not going to come out of retirement, start for this team, and be an every down player. He's being brought in because of his veteran presence, his leadership, his ability to stop the run. He can set the edge really well. He can still get after the quarterback. He's also being brought in as a rotational player. The Eagles are going to have him play anywhere from 10 to 20 snaps per game, and that's the need there. But that's not good enough for me. And I don't think the Eagles can just bank on Brandon Graham coming out of retirement, Nolan Smith coming off of injured reserve, and them being content with their pass rush. I really think they need to make a pretty sizable move to improve there, because think about it also in this way. It helps out the rest of your defense if you're able to get that pass rusher who makes your pass rush more consistent. There's also this. The NFC East is there to be had. There has not been a repeat winner in this division since 2004. The Eagles are looking to end that. Now, this Cowboys team is dangerous. They have one of the best offenses in the NFL this year, but they're 3-3-1. You're 2 games up on Dallas in the win column, and you beat them week 1. Jaden Daniels is out this week with a hamstring injury. He already missed some time with a knee injury. That was one of my concerns for him coming out of LSU in the pre-draft. He's a very small and slender player, so how would he hold up as a dual-threat quarterback given that lack of size? At 3-4, the Commanders are playing the Chiefs this weekend. They dropped to 3-5, and the Eagles moved to 6-2. Eagles don't have to worry about the Commanders. I think the Commander season might be over, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for this because we talked about this going into the year. They had signed 30 players who were 29 years old or older. They're one of the oldest teams in football, if not the oldest. They won a bunch of crazy games last year, and oftentimes that doesn't carry over year. And so I think the Commander season might be over. And if the Eagles can beat the Giants to drop the G-Men to 2-6, their season is over from a playoff standpoint. And so the NFC East is there to be had with 1 game left against Dallas. You do play the Commanders 2 times in 3 weeks to end the year, but they're kind of reeling right now. You play the Giants on Sunday. The division is the Eagles to win. And so that's wide open. So too is the NFC. The Eagles have a wonderful opportunity to repeat as Super Bowl champions. That's the point that I'm making here. If the Eagles play any of these teams head-to-head, don't you have confidence in the Eagles here? They're going to play the Packers coming out of the bye week, so we'll see how they match up head-to-head. They swept them last year in 2 games. The 49ers, what Kyle Shanahan has done this year, is tremendous, but they're so injured, and I think the Eagles are better. The Eagles already beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they played, a C game? Eagles will also host the Detroit Lions a little bit later this year. That's going to be a huge game, but I like how the Eagles match up with Detroit. Give me Jared Goff at the link in cold weather. The Eagles against Seattle, I'll say this. Seattle's very feisty, really good defense, and I think they're a little bit of a threat, but I'd still take the Eagles. The Eagles have owned the Rams of late. I still like the Eagles over the Bears given Chicago's lack of experience. The Carolina Panthers, definitely dangerous, but they're not ready to be on the same stage and field as the Eagles. And then you have the aforementioned Dallas Cowboys there at 3-1. So if you're Howie, you're like, the NFL is wide open. The NFC East is there to be had. The NFC is there for the taking. Let's make a move, go all in, and try to chase a second straight Lombardi trophy. Now, I'll tell you this. If the Eagles and Howie Roseman do make a move, I'm talking about it here on the show. Because anytime there's breaking Eagles news or big Eagles news, we dissect it and break it down here on the program, and that's a big reason why we're north of 134,000 subscribers. So don't forget to lock us in and hit that sub button. Now, coming up next, we already took a look at the top 25 players that ESPN put together as trade candidates going into the deadline. Which of those players are the Eagles connected to? We'll get to that here in just a moment. But let's get to our sponsor, our friends at Brunt. For those of you who watch the show and have been watching the show for a really long time, you know that I love woodworking. You know that I love tough, grinding jobs. I'm from the Philadelphia area. Just like a lot of you, I am a bring your lunch pail to work type of guy. That's my mentality. And I love doing woodworking. My favorite job growing up was mowing greens, fairways, approaches, and tee boxes at a golf course. I love that type of hard work because it's rewarding. And those long days are made easier with a comfortable pair of work boots. And that's why I've teamed up with Brunt. And we have a great deal. You can get $10 off your order when you use the code CHAT at bruntworkwear.com/chat. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. And if they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Brunt thought that was BS. So they built tough boots that feel great from day one, no break-in, no sore feet, because people out there doing the real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Brunt stands by what they make. You can wear these boots to work, and if they're not right for you, send them back. I don't know any other brand doing that. And you know why? Because that's a company that believes in their product. So the Marin boots are the ones that I have. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. We all work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So Brunt built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use the code CHAT at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com/chat, use the code CHAT, and you're good to go. After you make your order, they'll ask you where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor and tell them it was from this show on Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm going to put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. bruntworkwear.com/chat, code CHAT for $10 off. ESPN's top trade candidates. The Eagles reportedly connected or interested in 7 of those top 25 players. Here are the players who the Eagles are connected to. Trey Hendrickson, edge rusher for the Cincinnati Bengals. Riq Woolen, cornerback for the Seahawks. This is a little bit of a surprise, but we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Mark Andrews, the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher for the Jets. Michael Carter, cornerback for the Jets. Arden Key, edge rusher for Tennessee. And Cam Taylor-Britt, cornerback for Cincinnati. There are a couple of other players who also stand out on that list. One of them is a player on Kellen Moore's Saints, and that is Alontae Taylor. Alontae Taylor is a player who I like, who could help out the Eagles at a position of need because outside corner, opposite of Quinyon, is kind of unsettled right now. There's also this player, Jaylen Phillips, the very talented edge rusher for the Miami Dolphins, who, when he's healthy, is a really talented player. He is recovered from that torn Achilles, but anytime you suffer an injury like that, it's obviously notable. Now let's run through what Jeremy Fowler said about all of these trade targets. First, with Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson would be far and away the most attractive trade target if Cincinnati entertains a deal. However, a team source told ESPN, as reported on October 14th, that the Bengals have no plans to trade the former All-Pro. The interest will be there regardless, and San Francisco in particular considers Hendrickson an ideal fit. The Bengals' record is 3-4, and the team is in the thick of the AFC North race. All the more reason to keep its best defensive player. And I've long talked about Trey Hendrickson as one of the best players who the Eagles could go after. I know he's on the opposite side of 30, but this is a player who's been durable, who had 17.5 sacks each in 2023 and in 2024. I'd be interested in signing him to a long-term deal or at least a 2 or 3 year contract extension, and he'd make your defense better. Riq Woolen, another player who we've talked about here on the show, and I've mentioned him on some of my social media pages. Fowler on Woolen. Multiple league execs have Woolen earmarked as a strong trade candidate leading into the deadline. They've been wanting to move him for a while. One executive said he doesn't fit what Mike McDonald wants to do. Woolen would be best served going to a team that can utilize his man coverage traits. One potential hurdle to deal with, Seattle's other starting quarter, Devon Witherspoon, has had a difficult time staying healthy this year. Riq Woolen, really interesting player. He's 6'4", and he ran a 4.2, 4.3 in the pre-draft process. He actually tied with C.J. Gardner-Johnson for the NFL interceptions co-leader back in 2022 with 6. He has struggled a little bit since then, but I think that he would be a really good fit for Vic Fangio and a player who's young with a lot of upside. Jeremy Fowler on Mark Andrews here. The 3-time Pro Bowler is a tried and true Raven, and Baltimore is still holding out faith that it can make a playoff run despite the 1-5 start. But shipping pass rusher Odafe Oweh to the Chargers surprised many around the league, and the franchise seems open to at least evaluating the future of key veterans. Andrews is making $11 million in the final year of his deal, and tight end Isaiah Likely is also set to hit free agency, probably forcing the Ravens to make some sort of action at the position eventually. Andrews has been one of the best tight ends in football for a long time. He's a really good blocker. I think why the Eagles could be interested here, Grant Calcaterra, oblique. He's been injured and out over the last couple of weeks. He's a bad blocker. Mark Andrews is an elite blocker. So you put him and Dallas Goedert on the field, you can do a lot of stuff personnel-wise with 12 personnel and running it, 12 personnel getting the pass game going. He'd be a good complement and an excellent backup. The other thing that kind of comes to mind too, Goddard's in a contract year. Andrews is in a contract year. Could the Eagles look at Andrews as a player who maybe they want to retain longer than Dallas Goedert because Goddard's been injury prone? Fowler on Jermaine Johnson, one of my favorite trade targets for the Eagles here. The Jets are not desperate to trade him. Good edge rushers are hard to find, and his $13.4 million salary for 2026, a fifth-year option, is reasonable. But my sense after asking around is that New York would be more willing to part with Johnson than Will McDonald if it made any move at the position. McDonald is in the third year of his rookie deal, whereas Johnson is in the fourth, and Johnson has garnered a bit of interest thus far. Good reason for that. He's a really good player. Now, he, like Jalen Phillips, tore his Achilles last year. He's back, starting to round into form, but long-term upside for a young player, I think that Johnson's a dog. Corner, Michael Carter. Among all the Jets players implicated in trade rumors, Carter might have the best chance of actually getting dealt. My understanding is that there is interest in the slot corner. The Jets just picked up a corner in Jarvis Brownlee, who has acquitted himself well while Carter has missed time in concussion protocol. Carter is 26, could give a new team steady nickel presence. One obstacle to a trade is his $4 million injury guarantee that locks in on the fifth day of the 2026 league year, so the new team must consider that. Worth considering, and if the Eagles made a move for Carter and they put him on the inside, that tells me that Cooper DeJean would be moving to the outside. As far as veteran pass rusher Arden Key, Fowler with some insight here. The Titans are open to trading players who are in the last year of a contract and not in the franchise's long-term plans. Key fits that mold, and if pass rushing hunting teams strike out on big names, Key is a serviceable alternative. The Titans just lost rookie pass rusher Oluwafemi Oladeju for a significant time due to a fractured leg, so they might need to keep Key to offset attrition. Oladeju, good rookie out of UCLA, really good athlete. I liked him in the pre-draft. For Arden Key, had 6.5 sacks last year, a good veteran. He's not going to be that star player, but the Eagles just need guys right now in general at the edge spot and guys who can produce. Cam Taylor-Britt, interesting name at corner. Taylor-Britt was a healthy scratch Thursday night against Pittsburgh, forcing him to contemplate his immediate future. DJ Turner and Dax Hill have emerged as the Bengals' primary corners. Taylor-Britt has shown flashes, but he needs to up his 2026 free agency value. He could use a fresh start. Perhaps the Bengals will give one to him. His former defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, is now coordinating the Colts defense, which is depleted at corner. I think by now, the Colts are for real, and I think that they will make a move to upgrade their defense. They have Charvarius Mooney-Ward at the other corner spot, and so Cam Taylor-Britt could be an ideal fit there. If the Eagles want a rental, that could fit that mold. Azeez Ojulari was also mentioned in this article by ESPN as a trade candidate for the Eagles, meaning he could be a player who the Eagles trade away. Now, has a hamstring injury now. I'm not sure how that impacts his trade value, but obviously to start the year, he was a healthy inactive and a healthy scratch multiple times, which could make him an expendable player. And if a team wants a pass rusher, Azeez Ojulari has shown that he can get after the quarterback. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Thanks as always for your support, and we're going to continue to give you the best coverage right here on the show.